Okay, so let's get right into it. We're talking about that really tricky space inside all of us, where your logical brain and your emotional heart are in a complete standoff. How in the world do you find your way through that, especially when your own sense of what's right and just is hanging in the balance? I mean, it's a question we've all been hit with, right? You get to that moment where you're just paralyzed. Your head is screaming one thing, all logic and reason, but your gut, your heart, is pulling you in a totally different direction. So, what gives? What do you actually do? Here's a way to picture it. Just imagine your analytical brain sitting on one side of a table and your passionate heart on the other. They're locked in this intense arm wrestling match. And there you are, stuck right in the middle, knowing you have to live with whoever wins. So, yeah, let's start there with this classic battle, the head versus the heart. Because honestly, the first step to figuring out what to do is really understanding the two sides that are fighting it out inside you. And look, this is way more than just a neat little metaphor. It's that gut-wrenching, anxious feeling of being literally torn in two. But here's the good news. You don't have to just sit there and watch the fight. You can actually step in. You can be the referee. And this is where things get interesting. This is where you go from being the victim caught in the middle to the one who's actually in charge. You get to become the internal judge, the one who can step in, listen to both arguments, and call the shots. There's actually a great word for this process: to adjudicate. Now, the formal definition is basically to act as a judge and settle a dispute. It implies a fair process, carefully looking at the evidence and then making a final official call. Okay, great. So how do you actually do that? How do you take this pretty powerful idea and turn it into a real process for being the judge in your own mind?
Well, it turns out there's a practical way forward, a path you can follow that helps you adjudicate these internal fights and hopefully find some of that much-needed clarity.
The whole thing really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you've got to find some quiet and create space to think. Second, you gather your data from a few different angles. We'll call that triangulation. And then finally, you make your decision, making sure it's grounded in fairness. Let's dig into that middle step for a second, the art of triangulation. Think of it like a GPS trying to find your location. It can't do it with just one signal. It needs multiple points to get it right. It's the same here. You let the facts and your feelings just kind of marinate for a bit. You try your best to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You look for any patterns that keep showing up. And then you take a step back and see where all that combined information is pointing. And the golden rule through all of this? It's simple. Be fair. It's really about treating the situation with the same kind of justice and empathy that you would want for yourself. At the end of the day, the goal isn't just to win the argument. It's to land on a decision that feels right and genuinely justified. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a lot of work. And it can be. Which brings up a really important question. Why bother? What's the real value in going through all this? Let's call it the price of conscience. So here's the fundamental trade-off. On one side, sure, you could rig the game for some kind of short-term win. But if you have a conscience, that choice is going to forever rub you the wrong way mentally. It just will. The other path is choosing to be fair, accepting that, yeah, you might want some extra gain, but that internal peace of mind, that's something you truly need.
And this is about so much more than just avoiding a guilty feeling. It's about protecting who you are. Every single time you make a decision that goes against your values, you're taking one small step toward becoming someone you wouldn't respect or maybe even recognize. The stakes are actually that high.
Sometimes, yeah, making the right call comes at a cost. You might miss out on something, or you might get some heat from other people. But that's just it. That's the price you pay for something you can't buy, a good conscience. So to bring this all together, there's one last piece of wisdom to think about. It's a really powerful metaphor that kind of serves as a warning and a final thought. Let that one sink in. Even a compass gets confused near a magnet, pretending to be true north. Your conscience. That's your internal compass. It's always trying to point you toward what's right for you. But other things, pressure from people, your own desires, they can act like powerful magnets, messing with your signal, making you think you're headed in the right direction when you're actually way off course. And really, that's the question to leave you with. As you're trying to navigate your own big decisions, just take a second to ask yourself, what magnets are out there pretending to be my true north? And what do I need to do to make sure my own compass stays true? Thanks for digging into this with us.